Hi, beautiful human. I am Zach. That is Dan. And I cannot believe I'm saying this, but we welcome to the studio Michael Bolton.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Great to be here.
I mean, the first question is like, why? You don't need to do absolutely anything at all, yet you continue to not just work, but like really work. You have a brand new album out, Spark of Light. We're going to get into it. And you're working with a lot of really unique collaborators on this body of work, I think different than anything else you've done. But let's just start with why. Why do you still need to make music today?
Well, that's kind of has the answer in the question. It's the need. If you want to do it, it might not be wise to. But if something internally is just driving you on, and it has for me been for like 40 years or so, when I don't hear that voice anymore, or I don't have any ideas that are exciting me, then maybe I'll stop.
Has it been the exact same voice for the last 40 years?
No, I mean, I think I've considered things as music has changed. I've considered changing, except I've been able to, through the years, kind of visit all of the aspects of music that I've loved as a kid. All I wanted to do was make music. When I was 10, 11 years old, all I could think about doing was making music.
Can you describe what that voice sounds like inside of you, or what it tells you to do, or at least early on what it was telling you to do?
Please don't get a job. Whatever you do, don't get a job.
By the way, that's
it was telling me
motivating.
everything but don't quit music, whatever you do. It took me 18 years before I had my first hit.
What do you count as your hit? Because people can look back at your catalog, your discography, your history, and there's a few different moments where you have massive songs. I mean, Go the Distance goes number 1 in top 40, but like, what do you consider your biggest hit?
Biggest hit. Like, what are we measuring by?
I mean,
The amount of sales, the amount of, I don't know.
today you judge it based on a whole different criteria. Back then, you'd be judging it based on a combination of things: amount of sales, amount of syncs, right? Like a cultural impact. But 18
cultural impact, like that.
Yeah, I think that's actually the most well-rounded measurement of a song, because it's, a lot of songs end up becoming bigger than the individual artist too.
And I think that's still happening. Different songs have a different life they bring with them. If you give them the right attention, which is like telling people where to spend, when they have all kinds of Amazon dollars to invest. Anything can happen. Creative people just are fortunate enough to be attuned to what's going on musically and creatively, what's going to be attractive to other people. But amazing things happen. That I just wanted to make a living singing, basically. I didn't realize I could write songs that would wind up as part of a movie or a television show or themes that create another world of interest in my career. I think it comes down to, as you definitely are a big fan of music and artistry, from what I can tell. There's so many possibilities just by following what your gut is telling you or trying to tell you. So if you don't hear anything from there, like sometimes the voice sounds like this, and that means you don't know what to do yet. So like take a little break or something. Maybe you toured too much. But generally, you'll always come back to the same thing that got you here. Your instinct and your love for music.
When you were making music or going to a studio, do you think about what people want and where culture is going, or do you solely focus on what you want to tell and what story you want to portray?
To be honest, it can be a combination of the two. You don't want to be the only one on the top of a hill yelling, "This is where it is. This is the next big thing." It's really interesting to me that some of the most creative people I've ever met in my life, who I've been a fan of for many years, I won't mention any names, but when I asked this artist what they were working on, he said, "We're just trying to stay relevant." And I was like, stay relevant? You are relevance, But I think people just don't feel that. After a certain amount of years, when you see the industry moving and artists moving in a certain direction, you kind of feel like, what's going on here? How much should I know about this? Or should I just do my thing? When it shows up, it'll pull an audience in or it won't. I think I've lived by both. Trusting that if I like it, and I'm a tough critic of my own, other people are going to like it. How much, we'll find out. We'll find out, who's doing their job.
That's interesting because you just kind of highlighted a truth, which is you can have the best song in the world and it could still manage to fall on no ears, right?
Yeah, it's hard to know that for sure, but pretty much a lot of great music has, not finished strongly and not been able to have a core following. But usually if you have a great artist who doesn't come out until the album, till the record is great, there's a higher level of success, a higher level of possibility of success over there.
How do you know when an album of yours is ready to be released?
That's really hard to know. It's like, when do you cut the cord? Basically, it's like a question we always ask. It's hard to let go of something you've been working on for 2 or 3 years. And you can still be really excited about the body of music you've created, but there's a part of you that just knows it could be just that much better if you just go in the studio for the next 48 hours and don't come out till you're worthy. And that happens.
But how do you know when it's worthy? And is it different every time?
You have to trust yourself. And you do have people, I don't know if you have people like me who are great at what they do, and you'll just say, can you just listen to this, tell me what you think of this? Just bounce it off of them just to get an opinion. I learned that you can be working on a song that sounds like a mega record. You can't wait for it to come out, and it comes out and doesn't go to 1 or to 10, but there are fans for it. And then you can work on something and believe that it's like okay, and it finds a bigger mass following.
Has there been like a moment that stands out where that was just perfectly on point?
Probably the first 15 years of my career. Is this, I would get other people's opinion. I would sit in writer's room, half the size of this room, with maybe a piano in it. And I would meet a writer for the first time. And some people believed in us together, working together. And next thing we knew, we were writing a giant song. I usually know by the middle of the first chorus. And I'm going to tell you something just because it is funny. Lady Gaga sent me her first record just to give a listen to what she was working on. The company sent me like what they thought would be a good idea for me to convince me to write with her. Her album was done already. And she had been a fan, and I loved talking to her. So we set up a day to write, and we got together and wrote. And I didn't tell her, but when I heard Just Dance, 20 seconds in or so, I just thought, this is a huge record. And I knew that the label was completely committed. And I knew she had the will and the clarity of what it takes for an artist to become a real artist. So all of that had come together at the same time. And we had a great time writing, and the song wound up on my album. But I watched her put everything together and do the real work that artists actually, a lot of them don't get.
You just like hit the nail on something, which is artists today don't do the legwork that somebody like Lady Gaga did. I mean, she was playing at the bitter end in New York City to nobody, for a long
called the bitter
time.
end for nothing.
Yeah, literally. And beers thrown at her and the striped glasses to literally nobody, like there was such a process and a period of time that she had to fully invest into crafting this thing from nothing, that now you look at artists that come up and it happens, I hate to say like instantly, but it is in some cases, courtesy of TikTok, more instant today than it's ever been before.
I think you seem to be impressed by the ones who work. So
yeah,
and I had to work for it to happen. So I'm not crazy when I bump into somebody who's just blown up if they don't want to do the work. There's nothing wrong with having your career just blow up completely and in the best way possible. and you can learn a lot during that experience as well. But the work ethic is so big to me, and it's really a big factor in how much I respect an artist or not.
It also determines whether somebody's going to be fleeting or timeless.
Yeah, if you watch how they work and what they do with the success they have. Gaga, I couldn't be more impressed by an artist.
Do you feel like the art of a ballad today is different than it was when you were just crafting them and releasing them for the first time?
It's different. Everything is different from the time everything took off for me, because that was in the late 80s.
But those songs are still relevant today, and they have the same amount of emotional impact today than I'm sure they had when they were first released.
Well, I think I would trust your opinion on that level of success that happened. And it's really tough to say without hearing the artist's version, the specific version you're listening to. It still seems like a time when an artist can walk up unknown onto a stage and do not a huge television show, but a decent following, a decent audience, and have the singer have a moment with a great song. And you can watch a person's career get launched because they have the real thing. But I could speak endlessly about working for it and what that entails, and seeing an artist who really deserves it because they have talent, they're great, but they put it to work.
Do you think it takes a different type of artist to bring to life a cover than like an original?
All kinds of different artists have success, and different artists have their way to become the artists that they are. Hopefully is great. There's so many different possibilities of which way it can go, like an event can go to launch you or not. But I'm seeing like country artists crossing over.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing like amazing singers just get up and say, I'm going to do a version of this song, and have people around them go, are you sure? And the artist will say, yeah, I'm sure. And somebody who's maybe afraid of failure will say, okay, I didn't get a lot of enthusiasm on that one. But I've cut songs that people said, why are you doing that? You can write a hit bigger than that. And I would say, this is like one of the most powerful songs of my childhood. You know, I was inspired by the artist who made this record, and I'm happy to talk about it, you know, and sing their praises basically. And then I'd put out the record, or my company would put out the record, and I would be told that Ray Charles is doing his anniversary performance, and it's a TV show, and he wants you to sing Georgia on My Mind on the show. And I go, what? First tell him yes. Then we wound up singing for him 3 times, twice with him and once directly to him on stage, where he was being honored. And if I hadn't recorded the song because somebody said, don't do that, it's a cover, or, you know, didn't understand why I did it. You do, as an artist, you search for the music that feeds you and is going to feed the audience that's going to be watching you, because you're loving what you're doing. And I've seen this happen and play out really well for the artists in their careers. It always comes back down to that, like, whatever your gut tells you, like, be prepared to fight for it.
A lot of people are afraid to, or they're at places in their career where they don't have the confidence to.
So that's the fear factor. I did a song, I recorded a song, When a Man Loves a Woman. So I was a kid, and Percy Sledge had made the definitive version like 25 years or earlier or so.
Who, I don't even know who that is. I only know your version. When I found out that this song was a cover, I almost flipped a table.
Yes, he did.
I had no idea.
So funny.
No, but that has to happen all the time.
It has happened multiple times, and it's always such a great honor and so cool performing with the artist who originally did the version that woke you up to it, you know. And then you get to 20 years later be on a stage somewhere. It could be in Cleveland, it could be in New York, and you're on stage with the artist who delivered the version the world fell in love with. And I'm not at this point where I'm like scratching my head and saying, should I do this? Or it's more like, I love this. How do we do this?
There has to be a less egotistical or maybe even an egoless approach to being able to take on somebody else's story and make it your own. Because at least today, there's so many artists who go, if I didn't write it, I'm not doing it. Mm-hmm. Right? If I'm not in the room, I don't even want to see or hear the song. Mm-hmm. But to be able to take a song that you love and give it a whole new life, and then for the world to fall in love with it and learn about it for the first time in most cases. I mean, again, like there's the ego is not really there.
I mean, there are all kinds of times when we have to make a decision about what to do with our egos and what kind of fence is strong enough to contain them to. If you just tie them to a fence when you need that break from your ego. But when you do the right thing, the right things happen to let you know all the worrying about it, you know, isn't going to change anything. You did the right thing. You loved a body of work. You recorded it in the right key for yourself. You delivered it like with everything you had for the audience. And the right things happen. The songs become classic again. And with When a Man, there was somebody who worked at one of the record companies I was signed to at the time. They had really strong negative feelings about me recording a song that was so big by Percy Sledge, because there was still airplay from time to time on the original record. And I called my manager and I said, you know, I don't even want to talk about it. Let's just put the song on the album, and then what happens will happen. And we put the song on the album.
It changes your life.
And it was a life-altering moment.
That's crazy.
When I go through security, the guys sing When a Man Loves a Woman to me, and the women sing How Am I Supposed to Live Without You? And all I know is that my gut was like, you know, like on the meter, it was screaming to 10, do this, do When a Man. How Am I Supposed to Live Without You was a huge ballad that people thought would only have a female audience, and it went to number one twice. So, like, what do we know, and what does the ego have to do with it? So,
nothing. The
great thing about success on your own terms is that it's as good as it sounds. You know, you pick the songs, you decide when the song is ready, and don't get too drawn in by the geniuses at the record labels. There are some really great, you know, executives, but when they say something that's diametrically opposed to how you feel about your next step forward, I don't know, that's the artist's call for me.
And that is something that all artists should just remember. I mean, that is, and also keep in mind, like, to go to number one back then once was the most incredible feat. We're talking about moving units in the millions. Now, like, we're moving units in the hundreds of thousands. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not even in a lot of cases. Like, just how we're judging what is at number one, like, the amount is so much less than it was before. The consumption is so spread like it's never been before. So to go to number one once is incredible. To go to number one twice with the same song, holy shit. That's insane. Go the Distance from Hercules. That's like one of my favorite songs of all time. It's like it's everything. Does that song come to you like finished? It is from the movie and they ask you to put your own spin on it, or how did that actually go down?
Well, that one, the writers came to us from Disney, who had already written like a dozen hits themselves for Disney. And they wanted basically a Michael Bolton record to go with this Disney soundtrack, become this forever giant Hercules experience. We didn't fight for it. My co-producer, Walter Afanasieff, Walter A., he's known as by most people. You're looking at me like you're not familiar with him.
Do you still work with him?
I do from time to time, yeah.
One of the things I was wondering was how many people from the original studio camp crew are still around today?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because I see him and we talk about different projects. There are people who call him from Europe to come in and produce 3 songs on an album or something. They have the budget and they want first class, and they'll call Walter, and Walter will call me and see if I want to sing on it. And Walter did All I Want for Christmas Is You with Mariah. He also did Titanic. So
he rich.
He did very well. But he's like, he lives and breathes music. He's a classically trained pianist. So he wanted to fight for a piece of the writer's action for Hercules. But I felt like it was finished. When we finished the vocal on it, all it needed to be done was mixed. So that's the song that, you can't have any ego concerning producing it or being the songwriter. Well, producing it you can, but a lot of people, like mainstream, the masses don't know who produced what records.
So when that song comes out and is a massive hit, and to your point, like you don't have a hand in writing it, but it is still your voice.
Yeah.
What do you think they? And this is another thing that I've been deeply wondering is, have you ever asked yourself what is it about your voice that people are actually attracted to?
That's just funny. I don't think I've asked myself as much as I've pondered it when it became reality to me that people sometimes, people are just giant fans and you can do no wrong, basically. If you pick a song that's great for you, they're going to just love the song. I don't know, I just think that when you love what you're doing and you're really at the point where you do control the performance and you make the choices that are going to be how you feel about yourself as well as how your audience is going to feel about you as an artist, they're going to determine that. Then you spend a little extra time not thinking about whether you have the publishing on it or not, but thinking about the artistry of it and feeling proud about being part of the creation of it.
And by the way, I can make the case that Go the Distance, that song ends up touching so many lives through that movie. A whole generation of people are inspired by it to the point where like I have friends who sing it at fucking karaoke every time. Like it is it's woven into people's lives. You know what I mean?
It's now actually called fucking karaoke.
No, but I could open an establishment with the F word in there. Sorry, that was rude.
That's all right. I heard it here, so. No, I know there are friends of mine who run businesses, like automotive businesses around the world, who go the distance at their business meetings to get everybody like focused. Seriously. I'm like,
so cool.
Really? You do that? Like they're almost crying, telling me about how much it means to them and the people they're inspiring. And I'm like, okay, that'll work.
It is really bigger than any one person, right? Like it's bigger than those publishing rights. It's bigger than you, right? Like when a song has that ability,
it's an amazing afterlife that happens. Like if we do our jobs, it'll have the good life that we want for our kids, basically. Something happens when it does succeed that opens up all these other realms of possibilities with a successful record. and music that moves people. Just never underestimate the good that can come from that.
By the way, regardless of the amount of publishing rights or writing credit one has, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about putting our egos down for a bit. Sometimes you have to put it down for like 7 years and say, I got to walk away from owning a piece of this, even though I wrote the bridge or something, or whatever it is you think in your head. Could have been different. But I think that if you choose the right direction and you make music for your love of the music, you're increasing the opportunities and the possibilities of success happening. I never look back with regret to like have passed on a song that I didn't write that was a ballad, because I thought I had enough ballads, I had a lot of ballads as hits. And at that time I was looking for something like mid to up tempo. And I don't stop, when I hear it being played somewhere, I don't say, I should have, I don't know what I was thinking.
What song?
I know exactly what I was thinking.
What song are you thinking about right now?
I Don't Have the Heart.
I Don't Have the Heart.
I Don't Have the Heart. James Ingram recorded it. And it was written by a couple of guys who I never wrote with, but they'd reached out to me a couple of times. And they were really wanting to get the song covered. And I liked it, but I just didn't love it. It's nice to be at a point, to arrive at a point where you can say, no, I don't think so.
You're okay.
And not hurt anybody's feelings by it.
Why did you agree originally to do Jack Sparrow with the Lonely Island?
Because it's the gift that keeps on giving.
But did you ever expect that to happen?
No, I didn't expect it on the level, on the scale that it happened. I love the Lonely Island guys, and I loved the work they did when they were with Saturday Night Live. They came to us, my manager and myself, in Los Angeles. We had a meeting at a table, some hotel, like lobby, right off the lobby. And they walked us through the pitch, and the pitch was so much nastier than any part of the video itself that made it. And I was like, okay, I don't know if I could do this, because I could lose the first 12 rows of my concert audience halfway through your first song. And they laughed, but they said they know that. They've been told that by other managers. And can you clean it up? Can you do something? And this basically went on. We went back and forth where they were actually emailing me, how about this? And I looked to see what they changed, and it was like, it was worse. It was nastier. And I was thinking, what didn't they get about the first? Oh, they definitely knew which way to go on it, but it was at a different part of the video. And then I was driving into Atlanta for a concert the next night. And they told me, if you can find a studio in Atlanta, this version should work for all of us. And I looked, and I was laughing in the car. And I said, well, I can do this. But I just need to be in character if I'm going to use these lines from Scarface, which I love Scarface. So, take a look at me. Take a good look at me. So you need people like me so you can feel bad about yourself. You feel better about yourself. So they knew that, so they wanted to give me more Scarface lines, but those just kept getting raunchier and raunchier. And in the studio, like one of the lines was, I've got this big sexy hook. And I realized we were laying down and adding layers and layers of chorus harmonies to Jack Sparrow. So it was being realized. Nobody wanted to leave, to go home. Nobody looked at the clock. We shot for 2 days.
Wow.
And then the night that it aired, I was like hiding in the corner of Saturday Night Live on the set, just in case they didn't like it. I was going to be like about here. Like, okay, go ahead. And they liked it. And John Mayer was at the after party, and he said, tomorrow you're going to see an audience you've never seen before. And I said, in a good way? He said, yeah, they're going to love this. And so I'll never forget that, because we were talking about growing up in Connecticut together, and then he walked over after seeing the video. The next day I walked downstairs, And my daughter was just scrolling through thousands and thousands of responses. And she said, "You're not going to believe what's going on." I said, "Is it good?" She said, "They love it." And so I'm really glad, because she was a big fan too. She was one of the people who said, "Oh, you got to do something with them." So my oldest daughter, Issa. And it happened. And then we got to the point where we would meet in Los Angeles and have a toast and a drink to like 200 million views.
Holy, I mean, I can make the case that that also like was life altering in its own way, right? Like definitely gave a whole new resurgence and spark and another reintroduction.
It's another side of you as a human being, as an artist, as a comedian, as an actor, as a fan of music. Fortunately, I was a fan of Lonely Islands, and we had freaking fun for 2 days. And then after that, well,
Rest is history.
not complaining.
Spark of Light, by the way, is Michael Bolton's most recent album. We're going to put a link in the description below, but you can listen to all Michael Bolton's music on Amazon Music, obviously.
I love the song Spark of Light. I've been humming it since it came
great.
out.
We need to put a microphone on you permanently.
He's got the spark of light.
Oh, he's got it.
You don't even have to try.
I love it.
It's so catchy.
He was also inspired by your hair color, by the way.
Oh, yeah, well, that's brand new.
Yeah, I said I want to look like you when you come in. But for real, that song is so good and so catchy.
It's so good to hear. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's great.
You work with different collaborators on this album.
Yes.
A lot of younger artists. I had no idea that you work with Walk the Moon.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big deal.
Nick,
Yeah.
great singer. Justin Gesso, from
Incredible producer and a really good guy.
great singer, monstrous range,
Yeah.
and real hungry, focused in the studio. Really, a lot of potential.
How do you decide who is in your studio and who isn't?
Hopefully wisely at first. I'm not sure, like, really how to. I mean, I have to. My gut feel like this person's bringing something specific that I need on this record. A specific sound for one song out of, I don't know, 12, 14, 15 tracks. And when I find that, we'll find out what to do with it in the studio. We'll do the right thing in the studio. And I will get, if it's a young artist, becoming artist, I'll get them to trust me and try vocals, try doing some things that are going to work for the body of music that I'm making. But it's going to show off their abilities. And that with Justin Gesso, we did a version of Beautiful World that we co-wrote that is bringing him all kinds of attention, and I think will continue to. But I think he's going to blow up big.
I agree with that. He's really talented. When you were starting, or when you decided to make another album, did you set any goals or set any expectations for yourself?
Surviving the process.
Yeah, like surviving? That's it?
No, that's just that's my funny way of dealing with it. Because the truth is, it really does, if you put your all into it, you can really, really work hard and long on a great record. And at the same time, you don't really want anything less of yourself. You know, like, nobody can force you to work harder and listen closer and maybe go back in and re-sing something or go in and edit something. If you have permission to spend more time trying to perfect an animal, a musical beast of some kind, you can surprise yourself at what you come out of the studio with.
Were you surprised with what you ended up with as an album?
Not really, because I expected a lot. I just didn't know it was going to be one great song after another and great people to work with throughout the entire project.
Is it true that this is your first ever album of all original songs?
From what I understand, that's accurate.
What took so long to do that?
Well, because I've always found songs that there's something that I love about them, and I'm going to find a way to make them fit the record, make the record. but that doesn't mean that I have to write them. I don't feel like I need to own every part of every record I make. And if I choose the right song, which I have multiple times, fortunately, I chose songs that some people thought was like the easy way to make a record, but I try to find the best way to make a record, not the easy way to make a record. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, it's just kind of a no-brainer, just putting this together. I didn't realize by the time we get done with it, there won't be one or two classics on it, you know, with new something about it, new vocals or new arrangement. Having the choice is a big gift. Step back as an artist and step back from everybody and tell them, hold on a second. I think we need to do this again. Or let me go in and give you a better vocal performance. And you're going to run into people who will say, oh, happy you're willing to work that hard. And you're going to run into people who say, I don't think we should spend another minute on that song. But those aren't people I'm necessarily going to work with again.
What are you looking for in that moment? Somebody who just trusts you and lets you do your thing?
As a producer, there has to be a certain amount of musical trust. You're in there, again, the ego has got to be on a leash somewhere. You have to be spared, and you have to spare the people around you from energy that does damage to the creative process or interferes with something great becoming even greater. It's funny that that's a reoccurring theme, the ego in our career, in business, in entertainment business, you know, music industry. It can get pretty dark sometimes.
Totally. I think a lot of people think you need to have a very intense ego for survival and for a reminder of how great you are and what you've accomplished and who you are and why you're deserving to be in any room that you're in. But the truth is, by being in that room to begin with means you're already deserving. And I think it is dark. It is very, very dark. But in order to really achieve greatness, it has to go away.
That's what we think.
Not everybody agrees.
Not everyone agrees.
By the way, Spark of Light, link in the description below to listen to it. I mean, it is wild that it's all originals, but are you even thinking about it at all? Or are you just, whatever comes out and his quality makes it?
The latter. Quality makes it.
Huh.
I kind of went, I think when I was told that, by the way, this literally will be your first all original music album in forever, or however long the period of time was, I don't remember. And I thought, it's never been part of my intention. There's so much energy required to make a great record that you kind of need to have made that decision already before you got into the studio, that you know the ballpark of your songs.
How does an original start for you? Are you writing to production or to instrumental? Are you coming in with ideas? What is the process like?
It's kind of a combination. I'm always writing down ideas and titles. Like I would write, like in bed, I would write titles down because I knew, first of all, we didn't have digital devices to record voice memos. And if you didn't remember, you wake up in the morning, you don't remember what the title was of the song. It doesn't come back to you. It's just out there in the ether somewhere. And somebody else records it like 7 years later, has like a huge record with it. I like to go with titles, and I like to walk into a room with people who like to write to titles, because it gives you the intention early on in the songwriting process. Kind of brings you closer to your goal in a way without finishing. There's a lot of work to do in the process and a lot of choices you can make in the process of creating the music.
What is the meaning behind Spark of Light?
Spark of Light is like I think it's going to be different for different people, but it's a extremely positive way to look at life and the universe, because it's all it takes is a positive spark of light. If you can just say the title, it helps too. There's so much negativity in this world. Like people say that a lot. And in my lifetime, I never thought I would say it hasn't gotten better. It's gotten worse at this point in my life. COVID was this whole other level of fear and kind of darkness that took all our attention, brought all of us to spend time, and not in the way that we wanted to, but in fear. So Spark of Light is just this extreme wisdom of staying positive and protecting the very thought of which way you're going to take each step of your life. If you're going to be a positive person and basically support what light brings, or it's all about you. If it's all about you, then there's nothing else to talk about, really. But a spark of light is something that it's hope. It's all of what's missing when we're talking about how crazy it is out there. Because we used to be able to laugh about how crazy it is, how crazy it gets. And
now we live
happened.
it. Now we live it.
Yeah, now it's everywhere we go. So we kind of have to be like Beautiful World was similar in the message that we're going to make this a beautiful world is a decision that you make internally, that your life is going to be about light, about bringing hope and positive energy to people you come in contact with. And I'm just reminding myself by expressing it in front of you, to you, that we really need it. Need to feel good, make other people feel good around us.
How important is it to you to release a body of work that has that positive message woven throughout?
That's really a big deal. That'll make life so much better.
Is that one of the main motivations behind even continuing to release music? If it's going to be, yes, you have an inherent want to do it and a need to do it and that voice inside of you that makes you do it. But if you're going to do it, the message should have depth that could last maybe a generation or two.
Every bit of positive energy in music has so much potential to do that, to bring that. Should make you feel better about your life. Kind of like there's always some way you can give back in somewhere where you're affecting someone in a positive way. And, but, it's something that I'm kind of even thinking about, being careful about sounding preachy about it. It's just my opinion that we try to fix things and make things better. Even shake hands with people on the other side of the aisle. Do something for everybody else. I could spend all day looking at things that are just fucked up. And this album aligns with thinking about things that are great, that are inspiring, that have hope.
Needed.
That's the side I want to be on.
Spark of Light. Listen to the album, link in the description below. Is there any part of you that has a tiny bit of want or desire for somebody, an artist, to eventually cover one of your originals and breathe new life into it and introduce it to a whole other new audience?
That's probably something that I've always wanted in a different way, and I certainly in the early years of my career. But yeah, I think that there's a certain level of validation when people appreciate your music, and if a great artist was to release a version of one of my songs, I would not be offended by that. I would welcome that.
It is. It is incredibly interesting. The idea, just the fact that a human being could breathe a whole new life and introduce a whole new audience and a whole new generation of people to a song that, like, again, I had no idea that record did not belong to you and wasn't yours originally. I had no clue.
Neither did I.
But I'm telling you, there's tens and tens of millions of people just like me that had no idea, and that's really powerful. And you've seen that, like over the years, 4 Seasons with Madcon, and then again recently with that band Monoskin. Like, there is this art of the cover is so powerful. But the art of original art too has equal power, if not even greater, because you never know where that can go. And that message is 100% curated and illustrated by you.
And they can go independently,
Totally.
Well, maybe not covering, but why do you think so many rappers like to name drop you in their songs? It happens all the time.
I don't know. I did get a kick out of Kanye and Jay-Z did College Dropout.
Yes, Kanye sampled one of you and like Never Let You
Down.
Yeah, he sampled you.
They did a great job with that. That's actually a really nice body of music around that song. And I remember when I was told that they were reaching out to my attorneys for a license, that I was kind of excited about it. I was thinking I'd put the Kanye album up next to the Barbra Streisand album on the wall and see if that doesn't get some funny looks, curious looks. But they did a great job, and I love that music, the musicality of it. But I was more concerned about what the language was going to be and whether it was going to be permission to express anything negative or permission to just do something that's great musically and we're all happy and on our way. And it turned out to be a really positive statement. And then the other one was from The Dream.
The producer of The Dream?
No, the song that they sampled was "Stay," and that was from my blackjack days. As well.
Yeah, that was a band you were in, right? That's like early Michael Bolton, like very early.
But early's relative.
When did you realize that a band was not the right move and you on your own was it?
The second album with the band, with Blackjack, I decided if I'm going to do rock, I think I need to be in control of it. And maybe if I had made a record like Mutt Lange might have made, I might still be making rock records. But it was towards the end of the contract with Blackjack, and I realized that the arm wrestling that's involved in getting something done in a band, the politics of
crazy, and personalities,
watching people go through that, it's like watching people in a bad relationship reliving it at dinner. It's just sad to see because they're there for all this love and positive energy and creating with people you love. And you see what happens with bands down the road. You can't get them in the same dressing room. So
creatively stifling?
Creatively stifling, yes, which means life stifling. That's a new term, I think. Life stifling. Stay away from it.
Avoid it at all costs. But really, listen to all Michael Bolton's music, the entire discography, available on Amazon Music. What are you thinking?
Would you ever go back and record another volume 3 of the classics, like the hits, all cover albums?
I haven't. I shouldn't say it. Shouldn't say it never entered my mind, but I haven't thought that seriously about it.
Okay.
What's to be gained by it? Like what's a spark of light in it for me?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe there's no reason to.
Yeah, maybe not. Don't know.
It would be cool to kind of see you cover some of like today's biggest hits,
I was thinking that.
like some Taylor Swift or Ariana Grande.
They can both sing.
The Weeknd.
Yeah.
Weekend. Great artist.
I think they.
There are a lot of great artists.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I need the vision of it, you know.
Yeah.
So right now I've got this other project going on.
Which is fantastic.
He's humming. You
I
should
love
hum
that
too.
you have Sparklight in your
It's just
vernacular.
it's just so fun to drive to, put it on the car, put the windows down. Makes you feel good.
There's the commercial.
Listen to Spark of Light. Seriously, there's a link in the description below. You can listen to it all on Amazon Music. And every song that Michael Bolton's put out, we're going to put a link there. Amazon Music. We've covered a lot here today.
Yeah, you've been very patient. Thanks.
No, you've been patient. Well, I've been patient. You've been patient with me. Thank you for being here. And like, even this is charity for, you don't need to be here. So I thank you very much for giving us your time.
Pleasure to be here. Really.
You're,
It's been great.
you're an icon and a legend, and it's timeless to say the least. I mean, do you ever think back on everything you've done and your impact on music, or are you solely focused on what's ahead?
A bit of both. I like to look back. Not too far back, but to appreciate how long the ride has gone. I've talked about, I laugh about it taking 18 years before the first hit happened. But it wasn't funny during that time. It was not funny because I had a family to feed.
And probably questioning whether or not this is the right thing.
Yeah, I didn't have a plan B. So I had to keep going. And then when I think I was thinking even remotely about changing focus, because I can't even say the words quitting music, I would bump into an executive or Clive Davis or somebody who would say, "Oh, I just heard this song with your voice on it. You should come up and play me some of the music you're working on, or keep going. Just good luck with everything. And you have my number." Like giving me like a hope, a cup of hope that would last me for another 4 months or 6 months or something without a record contract.
Those moments mattered.
Yeah. Somebody made the right decision by keeping me going forward.
That's. Can I ask like a maybe a cliche question, and maybe it's like, and I think about this now in my life, and
This is your domain. This is your home.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm a guest.
I think of this question now, and I'm 30 as of next week. And I do think about how I want to be remembered, or how like the impact I want to leave on culture at large, or how in 50, 60 years when we look at the media landscape, like what did we do here over the last, I've been doing the show for 16 years, so more than half my life already. What have we done? How have we changed this place? How have we helped it? Do you wonder or think about how you want to be remembered, at least within music and culture at large?
I think about it sometimes, but I primarily think about it if I'm doing fundraising for protecting women, domestic violence, children who are victims. That's been my primary focus outside of music, and the way to bring fundraising events to concerts and private shows, etc. I would love to have to be looked at as someone who contributed to the cultural experience of music in some way. But I would love to continue having success with music and still have the primary focus outside of music be to prevent violence against women and children.
That matters. That work matters. Music matters too, but that In this case, it works together for each other, right?
Yeah,
Music allows you to bring awareness and funds and resources to something that plagues millions of families and women all over the world.
Yep.
And everybody firsthand has an instance or a story or a friend or a mom or, yeah. That is vital and matters.
So that's the long term of it.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Thank you for being here and taking the time today. I really
you again.
appreciate you.
Thanks for being so generous.
No, you're absolutely incredible. And please listen to all Michael Bolton's music on Amazon Music. Link down in the description. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Seriously.
Michael Bolton, everybody.
Thank you.